Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, here we go.
Okay,
Hi, Ben. Yeah, welcome back. Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, we changed a little bit our plans for everyone who's listening because
Yes.
after the last episode, there were many people who were asking to go a little slower and deeper into the discussion.
Okay.
As I assume, because I'm convinced your work is very original, we cannot assume that everyone understands what we're talking about. I have a
Okay.
few people who asked me to go just a few steps back, and then we'll have a fourth talk about the teaching. Like we ended last time, we ended that we want to talk about teaching. So that was the
Yes.
last. And so I just for those who just a quick reminder, last time we talked about, I would say, kind of two aspects. One I would call the more embodiment part of the brain, where when you touch the brain, basically the whole experience, the embodied brain is there. So it's not something that's easy to describe, but it's kind of this idea that when one human touches another human's brain, you'll pick up something that is much more. We could say it's the holistic thing, it's the embodiment, but it's something more complete and more complex that you can tune into. This was kind of one part of this discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was already not so easy to find the right words, but I think we did pretty well. And then we had another part of the discussion that was more about, like, I would say, more classical things like movement, elasticity, deformation, different qualities. We can actually describe more with more or less biomechanical terms. So
Yeah.
this was kind of where we left it last time. So yeah. And so could you, I don't know, whatever you want to pick up, but I think we should say more about both aspects, but whatever you
Okay.
also
So
be
I
really.
was thinking, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you can also be really methodological in terms of the way you do it, the way you teach it. It can be a little bit more like a class if you want to.
Okay. So I was thinking about it breaks down into two parts. I think I'm talking about the sensing perception in the brain. And the fundamental part is being able to sense and identify the consistent movement patterns in the brain that have to do with incoming perception.
Hmm.
In two parts, really, it's the interoception, the body language speaking to the brain, and the outside exteroception. And these are streams of information that's the way to first connect to that and establish that as the some basis for sensing the brain are these movement patterns I talked about, which is the hemispheres, which are very different in their density, in their asymmetry. They're very asymmetrical, and they have pivots. They have fibers of pivots, like
Hmm.
the corpus callosum is the biggest one.
Yeah.
And just like an organ in our body, there is some movement corresponding to how the structure is oriented in the contained space,
Hmm.
right? And for me, this is the neural movement
Hmm.
pattern, which is not the same as the breathing pattern that we feel with the organs.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I realize this is the first problem in teaching this work
Hmm.
because if you have somebody who's done a lot of cranial work, they've done the structural osteopathy, they know it's a bone, they know it's a membrane, they know
Yeah.
scalp, so on and so forth. And they've also have some version of what is called craniosacral or fluid movement pattern in the brain, right? Uh, and there's all these different descriptions. If you go through biodynamic with long tide,
Mm.
medium tide, cranial sacral, it's a certain
Mm.
description. This is distinctly different in that it's alternating
Hmm.
pattern. It's not, and what I found
Just say
is,
what do you mean with alternating? Because I'm not
I
100%.
mean, if you think of gait,
Yeah.
walking is alternating our limbs and our sacrum. This is neural patterning
Mm,
in its essence. You have a command, part of you going forward, part of you going back.
mm. So
You
just to
know,
be very kind of, it could feel like this, for example.
yes, it could feel like that.
Yes, yeah, like a torsion.
Um, Whether or not we can give it a story about originating somehow in the ectodermal tissues as distinct from other tissues,
Mm,
um, it doesn't matter in
mm.
a sense,
Yeah.
because this came to me very consistently over many years as very different than what I was taught, having to do with fluid movement. That's kind of another subject. But
Mm,
if people, when I'm teaching, can distinguish, and that's why I always start with a guided step by step palpation,
mm,
whether it's the same mechanism of focusing perception, right? So once you get familiar with these movement patterns, they start to tell you a lot about kind of the ability of the brain to be receiving information
mhm,
in its totality. And it can, and then you could start to determine, oh, is this a good resting tone?
mhm.
Tone meaning movement
Then,
pattern, right?
mm,
Where the organism feels safe, and then you can proceed from there.
mm,
And the major pivots um, are corpus callosum, internal capsule, fornix, the eyes through the neural, through the midbrain. It's
mm,
very strong kind of. You can do it separately with the cerebellum, which has its own kind of axis of movement,
mhm.
on the center. So
And if
these are, huh?
and if you say pivots, you mean for this kind of talking, for
For
this
this alternating movement.
movement,
There's
yeah?
another movement, then that's one set of movements. The next is a direct palpation on the crown of the head through the center of the hand. Different parts of the hand have very different sensibilities. And
Mm,
I think you can be aware of that when you're placing your hand for sensing.
mm,
But there's also the stream of interoceptive information that's coming from the body constantly. And that's felt, I believe, through, the thalamus,
mhm,
and that part of the brain that is a receiving center to kind of distribute information throughout the brain. And you can feel this, it's likened to, you can think of a fountain where it has this constant central
mhm.
outflow that goes back to the fountain. It's recirculated.
Like, yeah, yeah,
There's a sense of that feeling. So
yeah.
that's a way to evaluate the brain body.
So just to emphasize that that is not alternating, that is more like peripheral
Streaming. It's
central.
streaming.
Yeah,
And
it's
yes,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
The kidney has something like this. Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think the blood organs have more
Yeah.
of that.
More like this. Yeah.
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 Um, so you have some ways to evaluate the general
Mm,
present operating
mm,
sense of the brain. And once you can clearly establish that for yourself, that's when the constructions can appear.
mhm,
And everyone does this, right? You create images, and think of images as any kind of construction, a sentence in your head, an image, a noise, a memory.
mm.
Those are constructions. Those are images.
Yeah.
So then you're wired into this brain. There are some things to do to enhance the sharing between the hemispheres. If you feel that's glitchy, you
Mm-hmm.
can enhance, through induction in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once people really feel that, then they're ready to do what everyone does, is start to receive images.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it's an appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what is unique about the brain.
That
It's the brain
exactly
that does this.
does this to you
The
as a
organs don't do it. Hmm?
the brain does it to you as a practitioner.
It does it, everybody.
Buddy.
Everybody's brain does it.
Yeah.
And I believe, I strongly believe in that touch is the clearest way to receive this kind of appearance of constructed images that are taking place in the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Wow.
the conduit of touch because the instrument of touch is all the parts of the instrument are exactly the same as what it's sensing.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it's also one of the most intimate ways to know somebody.
Buddy. To get to know.
Intimate in, the word goes to within.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so it's a normal functioning of all of us, this
yeah.
kind of constructing. And you're already in some ways in tune with this brain's movement patterns, which relate to, all the functions, one all of the many functions. Um, I'm leaving out one movement pattern. It'll
So
come to me.
we had two.
Uh,
We had the alternating. We had the fountain.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we have the channels of pivot, um, and then you're ready. At that point, you can start to receive and get a sense of how this person is constructed in
Mm,
their sensorium, their order of using their sensory apparatus,
mm,
and how then the emotions are all valences of
mm-hmm,
every experience. So then you can receive emotional tenor
mm.
because it's just another image, really.
So are you doing something? I mean, are you trying to do something to yourself? I mean, you so just to summarize, you would tune into these movement patterns, yeah, one, two, three,
Yes.
and then something else anyway is happening, yeah, and then.
Yes.
But are you trying to set yourself as an instrument? Or is it happening, whatever withstanding what you're doing with yourself? Are you trying to also
I
prepare yourself?
think I'm trying to just be receptive.
Receptive? Okay.
Yes. There's, I'm not trying to create any kind of intermediary,
Yeah.
you know, like, for example, when I was earlier in studying in the Barral Institute with Barral in his earlier brain work, he would say, okay, make a screen.
Hmm.
And then in the screen, you can have clouds and blah, blah, blah. And then you can start to maybe receive something from the person. But
Hmm.
that was him construct one of his
These
constructions,
constructions, yeah. Yeah.
right? And so it became somehow a mirror to receive from the other.
Yeah, yeah,
But you already have this other construction in the
yeah,
way.
yeah. So
We
we
we want to
experience
be,
we
hmm?
experience Mr. Barral if we do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you want to experience the construction of your patient and not of someone else, basically.
Exactly. And because I am similar to them in the way my brain works,
Yeah.
and I've already established some kind of connection through the rhythm patterns, um, that I can then be in a receptive state for these appearances.
Yeah.
And the thing about this is you can check it. All you have to do is reflect it back to the person.
By actually
You can ask
using
them. I like I was treating somebody who I treated before, but through a automobile accident and
hmm
recovering, and then she had another minor one.
yeah.
This happened the other day, and this time I'm listening, and I can have the sense. And remember, these senses, these appearances, are infinite
Mm.
because we're infinite in the way we can create in our
Yeah.
brain, right? And I get this sense somehow she's very resourced to take the second trauma, not fall back. And I'm trying to get a sense how come she has this capacity to be resourced and there
Mm.
wasn't a big backsliding. And you can get images of the person also in earlier in their life.
Mm.
There's a sense of age. You know, how long is something, it can have solidity kind of, but really part of them or not. And I had a sense, I asked her, I said, as a girl, 5, 6, 7 years old, were you pretty independent? What do you think? And at first she didn't quite agree, but then she described herself to me as somebody who had a conflict with her mother because she was too independent,
At
you
that age,
know?
at that
And then
age,
and then I understood why she was resourced the way she
it
was,
was
because she had, in her own nature,
yeah.
she had developed this parallel to a troubled family life, this inner resource to
Mm.
live in her own world.
Mm.
And she was able to start to study music, which she loved, just by starting with a toy. So
Mm.
she had something too,
To
that was a practice.
uh,
But there it was. There was the sense that there was something solid and independent in
uh,
this one. And I kind of got, oh, that's why.
That's you stress often that this field is kind of infinite, yeah, because we are
Yeah.
infinite. But could you still describe like if it's if it's the globe or something, if it's a big landscape, can you still describe some mountains, some parts of it? Could you still?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that would be
It's
wonderful.
infinite only in that the individual nuance. It's like our face. Our faces are infinite, even
Mm.
though you find people who look very similar,
Similar.
right?
Yeah,
But
you're
start
not a
with,
twin. You're not a
no.
twin. No.
Even I have twin brothers, and they used to get people confuse them at school. I never confused.
I remember you had twin brothers.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I remember.
But I say this really starts more with the sensory perceptions.
Mm,
Before you start to really develop more the nuances of emotional construction or age constructions or to work someone through the sequence of a trauma, the way you develop this is in everyone, there's some order of preference of use of our sensory system,
hmm
right? Some
Yes.
people, and so whatever that is in you is the place to start, you know? So if you're highly visual and
hmm
you're in tune with the brain and sensing some, maybe it'll be images that you start to get.
hmm Yeah.
And then you reflect back with the people. You talk to them, you ask them. Or if it's you get a sense of music, which is rare, really, then you ask them, "Do you walk around with music in your head all day?" They say, "Yeah,"
Yeah. Yeah.
because for them it's normal,
Yeah. But
right?
you wouldn't have a problem starting with your own kind of sensibilities, your own tendencies. You're saying that's okay.
You, it is the place where you will most likely start to develop this capacity
Hmm.
to receive, constructions from somebody's
Okay.
brain. Yeah. That's why everyone has some degree of synesthesia,
Hmm.
but they say artists are like 5 times more will test for synesthesia because they were already kind of blended in their, you know,
Mm.
um, sensing the world, and therefore that's why they went
And
toward
with
that.
synesthesia, you mean that you feel what the other person feels, or what
Well, there
is?
are two types. There's synesthesia where in a person you're blended in your
Mm.
apprehension of a stimulus, of sensory stimulus. So you people who hear music and see it numbered
Yeah, yeah.
in
That's
color,
it's
in color.
very very rare. I heard.
You know what? I don't think it's very rare that people realize it.
Ah, okay.
And when people name it, they say intuition
Yeah,
because there's a part that's beyond their awareness and a part that is their awareness. And why'd you do it? Oh, I had an intuition.
yeah,
No, you
yeah.
also had some information you were working with.
Yeah. I think
You know?
I meant that specific case where they tested that someone
Oh,
hears the music and has the exact like number,
yeah.
so that it's always identical. No, it's not like hearing music and seeing numbers of colors, but it was basically the partitur of the music and the partitur of the colors was always identical. It was 100% match. I think that
In
in these people, and that's
oh,
very.
uh-huh,
Yes.
uh-huh.
I think that as what I read, that's really rare that you have 100% match of the two senses. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. No,
Yeah.
I think it's always blending.
Yeah.
And it's mostly unconscious
Yeah.
with people, even though it's happening. And then there are people who have a very dominant uh, perceptual mode that they pretty much go through life with.
Yeah.
But remember, these aren't just sensory impressions, these are also constructions that are cognitive
Yeah.
and emotional.
Yeah.
And so one can lead you to the other
Yeah.
because in the brain it's all the same. So if you can receive one way, you're going to be able to receive
The
things that are about belief
yeah.
or emotion. Now, you might sense the emotion a little more somatically than you will an image. For me, I think when it's an emotion, I get a little more of a resonance that's somatic.
Mm.
And then I can ask about it. I can explore it. And also because one of our major constructions that we work with all the time is language.
Mm.
And language is powerful, extremely powerful, and it's misused so often.
Mm.
And this can help you tailor your language to that person
So that
to
what do
match
what do you
closer.
mean? This meaning picking with this you mean picking up their quality.
Picking up this kind of information about how they're
Ah,
constructed,
okay. How they're constructing.
I
Okay.
can start to change my language to
And then
match
which
or align with
mm.
their perceptual.
If they're more somatic or more visual or stuff like
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
yes. And it also goes into order, which is sequencing in life,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
need for it, the need for having a pretty procedural kind of approach to life or being multitasking all the time.
Mm.
Again, these are areas of construction of cognition.
Mm.
And again, you can start to get the sense of that with
Yeah.
people. I mean, typically, I've worked with a number of engineers, and they're all like this. That's why they're engineers. They're good. They chose the right profession for
Yeah,
themselves
yeah.
because
They
they're
can
thinking,
plan sequences. Yeah,
huh?
they have to be able to plan a sequence, no, where things
Absolutely.
one leads to the other, like a
Yeah.
Goldberg, the typical Goldberg machine, you know.
Yeah. But, you know, you can say, well, this person chose well for who they are.
Yeah,
Um, so that's why I'm saying it's infinite.
yeah,
Because when you look at cognition, emotion, somatic, you know, kinetic, material being,
yeah,
these things can get blended in an infinite way
yeah. But just to
within.
make sure, just to make sure. But so you don't have a list, oh, I go always from A to from 1 to 10. So you really only whatever you're picking up. You're working with whatever you're picking up in terms of.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't happen
Ah,
because it's
okay.
not an issue. I don't, if it's, you know, I feel this brain is kind of moving patterns, all feel pretty good, and none of that comes up.
Up, okay.
Okay,
Okay, then
let's
it's
work on your knee, right?
okay. And what is an issue then? How would you feel an issue? I mean, where what is an issue? If it's too dominant, is it too extreme? I mean, can you describe like how would you feel like it's an issue?
I think something always becomes an issue if the person, first of all, they're in the office for some reason, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And usually it's they're lacking understanding of them. They always are lacking some understanding of sensing themselves or knowing themselves.
Yeah. That's why we go to therapy. Yeah.
Right. But the purpose of therapy is mostly to give choice, more choice,
Yeah.
right? Um, Whether it's by manipulation, some kind of real mechanical easing of frictions, adhesions, tensions, and same thing with the mind,
Mm.
is that the person, rather than reacting the same way emotionally every time and causing them big problems, you have a sense why they do it because you're able to receive these constructions.
Mm.
And again, remember, these constructions are just recreated every day.
Yeah.
And that's why we just have these habitual responses to situations.
Mm.
But if we're more aware of all these factors, right, we can have
Mm.
more choice about how to live our life.
So we could say one of the problems is that you're basically stuck in one solution. Yeah.
Yes,
You don't have enough choices and life has a lot of different challenges and sometimes you have a problem because you're stuck in one construction. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can also, you know, some of these things a really good psychologists would know
Yeah.
through through observation.
Yeah.
You know, gesture, position, tone of voice, whatever. But I think we, through touch, have access to way more nuance of understanding
Mm.
a person, and then can, you know, resonate and talk to them and work with that.
Mm.
Really,
Yeah.
something more specific.
Yeah. And and what would be a now the therapeutic approach? Yeah, you realize they don't have enough options. Yeah,
Yeah.
that creates a problem in their life. So your hands are at the brain. So what would be a procedure to change that to
Well, the first procedure is that I want this, what I consider a good somatic default mode, which is they can, at the moment, be in a much more receptive, restful, safe place. That I do. I check the eyes
Mm,
on the first things I check. And if I get more of a kind of a uh, pull, some sense of a heat from the left eye, I go back and I check the corpus callosum, which is the broad,
Mm-hmm.
pivot. If these things all are showing up, and I go to the other pivots, and they're all have pretty good excursion,
Mm-hmm.
um, then I know, okay, I can now listen to the brain and see if there's appearance of
Mm-hmm.
any strong impression,
Yeah.
or is this something I need to start with the body
Mm-hmm.
and just, work with the body and
First.
come back to the brain.
Yeah.
So there is the possibility that after working on the body and coming back, then you might get
My goodness.
more
If
appearance.
but if you decide to work on the brain, what would be something how could you describe what you would be doing then, you know?
Um, you mean after
I
enhancing all the movements?
yeah, so we had the movements, you pick up the way they construct things. Yeah, I don't
Then
know.
I just, okay, then I listen. I
Okay.
listen and I see what is presented.
Okay.
I listen. And if the sense is that there's, um, that I get a clear presentation of an emotion, say, then I'll listen to it. I'll just listen to it and see what form it has. And then I might ask them something.
Yeah. So you're not trying to fix it, change something from
No,
the from whatever
no,
you feel. No. So no.
no,
Okay, no.
no. The movement patterns, yes, you do
Yes.
want to enhance
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so no, I want to receive it, and then I then I can ask them about it. Then
Okay.
I can use some form of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes all it is I'm receiving it and it's telling me something about their orientation,
Mm-hmm.
which means later if they ask me, what can I do? A common question
Mm-hmm.
to help this. I know that they're a person who thinks best because they're kinetic basically, and they have this problem is to go for a walk while they process it, not lie on the couch, because I understand they're a kinetic processor
Yeah.
from what I felt in the brain. Now you could discover a lot of this talking to somebody,
Yeah.
but it's clear. Well,
Yeah.
I think clear. If it's a procedural person who's likes to have a
Yeah.
strategy, then I could talk to them more in that manner.
And
Some people they're arranged where they're not left or right; they're forward seeking.
mm,
These people make really good entrepreneurs in business.
I can imagine.
No, they're
Yeah.
forward, and you can feel that the activity comes into the frontal cortex and it stays there.
That's good.
So those kind of people,
Yeah.
you
And is it important for them that they talk, that they answer, or is it important for you? You know, when you ask them, then you engage in the dialogue. Is that changing something in them, or is it telling you something?
sometimes, like those forward-seeking people, no, they're
Oh,
just they're hunters. They're
yeah,
doing it,
they're doing.
and you don't want to try to go any beyond that
Mm.
because it's a realm that as long as they're healthy, right?
Yeah,
Often what happens is they overdo their body.
yeah,
And then you can try to direct. You can't change that forward seekingness.
yeah,
You can just try to redirect it a little so that they don't overuse their body. But
yeah,
I would not try to make them more aware.
yeah,
Other people want to be aware of how they organize
yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for
And
the other
some,
ones, what is it for the other ones? I mean, then you engage in a conversation. Is that then inducing some change, or is it what is your idea? Why? What,
I think part of it is we all want to be seen.
mm,
There's something so profound in it
yeah.
to being seen, right?
Yes.
People go to the doctor all the time, right? You hear it all, and they're not seen. Take this medicine. Oh, here you could do this surgically, and they walk out of there and they feel like they were ignored.
It was not about me. Yeah.
Well, right?
Yeah.
In a very limited way,
Yeah.
because they weren't witnessed to any degree.
Yeah.
Uh, I think this allows you to really, like I say, it's intimate. You can witness somebody and
Yeah.
speak to them then within that understanding. And it helps them if they have a really difficult chronic treatment resistant problem,
Mm,
they can learn to live with it better.
yeah.
It's very reassuring to have someone understand your struggle
Mm,
and your relationship to struggle.
yeah.
Brain work helps there.
Helps that. Yeah.
I'm not, it's part of treating somebody. And like I say, sometimes it's
Mm,
not really applicable to somebody.
yeah.
They have a very specific problem,
Mm,
but often, like with organs, there's almost always some kind of mental
mm.
habit that affects the functioning of the organs,
Organs.
right? So the closer you can get to how they structure their perception and thinking,
Mm,
maybe the more you can make them aware of that so that they don't pass it on to their organs.
yeah. That could be interesting when, in the activity system, yeah, we talk about organs being hyperactive.
Yeah,
That's sometimes hard to understand because it's a pattern. Yeah.
yeah,
It starts as a reaction to something or maybe as a compensation, but then it doesn't stop. Yeah. And
right.
then the question is, yeah, is it the immune system? What is it? But it's really something where you feel like, yeah, it's automatic. It became automatic. It's just that way. It feels like there's no alternative. And this could
Hmm.
be maybe a good hint to check if actually, yeah, you have a construction more like that's more organized, like around your brain that corresponds with it. That's kind
Yeah,
of my thought right now. Okay, so that would
yeah,
make sense. Yeah,
yeah. That all it's almost always with organs that are in a state of
yeah, yeah.
distress.
Stay.
Whether
Wait,
whether
wait, 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 wait.
yeah,
I need to char. I
sure.
have to do something. I'm I'm staying in an English house. I don't know if you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
You have plugs. You plug in, but
yeah,
then the plug has a switch. So
yeah,
you plug in your computer and you think, yeah, it's kind of maybe a metaphor for the brain. You plug in your computer and you think actually the plug is active, yeah,
yeah.
but next to the plug you have a little switch. So it's like, you know,
Uh,
so it's a kind of you are hardwired.
yeah.
My computer is hardwired to the plug, but the little switch wasn't on. So it's like
Okay.
a
So
little switch of attention, but now it's on. So sorry. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether the distress, say, in the stomach comes from uh, a conditioned belief or something happened, you were traveling, you got some bug and it made a mess of your stomach, and
Yeah.
of course, the emotions develop out of that condition.
Yeah.
It's still, you want to look at the
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I understand. It's one of the most intriguing things when in treating organs is I mean hypoactivity. It's clear that you need to do something because they're tired. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
don't have to ask why. but if it keeps being hyperactive and you don't find the reason, no? I mean, if this liver is hyperactive and they're never drinking, they're never doing
Yeah.
something extreme, then the question is, yeah, but what is driving the pattern? Yeah, and often it's like, yeah, it has to do with emotional situations, with
Mhm.
the situations. Yeah, but often, yeah, it's hard to find out, and then this is very helpful. Yeah, but to actually
And
understand that the same thing happens to the brain. That
yeah.
yeah, that
And
it
I think it's you can develop this. I because I look at me and many, many years feeling these movement patterns.
yeah,
And after that became second nature, it became much more common to receive the
okay,
images.
yeah,
Um, and that can be developed if I think that's why the story or the metaphor is important. That we can get as close a description to something that's happening in nature, in
yeah,
us,
yeah,
than a story that doesn't match
yeah,
nature, our nature or nature,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. I think it's intriguing. So that was very helpful, Ben. Is there something that comes to your mind that we haven't covered in terms of
No,
the way?
I always feel like I wish I could describe it more succinctly. I, you
No,
know,
I think, we took double the amount of time this
yeah,
time, but we were, and I think together, like last time, I think people had a chance to get an overview. And
yeah,
this time, I think it was more, it's more technical as much as it is technical. I remember in your class that's the way it is. No, it is not technical. You're entering, it's process. You
right,
basically, that's why I'm interested in your work is you're a process-oriented therapist. It's
yeah,
not about doing one thing or the other. It's the therapeutic process. It only works when you interact with the other system. No,
yeah, yeah,
otherwise nothing is happening.
yeah,
It's not like we're doing something on the other system. We're interacting with it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think no. My plan is anyway to get you to teach. I mean, here in Europe. So, so
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
we can combine really sensing with the organs
yeah.
in the brain. And,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that would be definitely my interest to develop a class with you where you do your work and I do the work. I pretend the organ is the brain is just a very normal organ, and then
okay.
we'll try to what happens. No, it's kind
Yeah,
of that would be fun to do. No,
yeah, it would be.
yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Ben. Yeah,
What?
and then
Okay.
next time we'll do actually what we were planning to do the talk about how what's important in teaching these things. So
Yeah.
it's
You
going to
know,
be
I have this, it's like I guess like fantasy football. I don't do that, but everyone should have a fantasy. What would my osteopathic college require of you? What would it look like, right?
oh this
In my kingdom,
and,
that
and
it's a useful game.
is that what you how we should start the conversation like next time?
I would say, well, your osteopathic college that you have, what are your prereqs and what are your requirements for admission?
The requirements meaning like how should the person be? What should they bring to the table when they
Yeah, what's your background,
yeah.
right? What's
Yeah,
your education and what's your background
yeah.
and
That's
why are
interesting.
you interested in this?
Yeah. Because then from there on we can look at the other side. What can the teachers offer? Is that
Yeah.
yeah, so that would be very interesting. So I will be thinking about it and I hope everyone
Yeah.
else also.
Okay, good.
So Ben, I will
Uh,
just stop the recording and then we
yeah.
can keep on talking.